What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. So ideally, you're looking at this open GM and head coach position. If you could ask for any particular trait or a specific background scenario, I think you would definitely check off a program builder as part of that DNA that you want in either one of those selections. There was a list provided, of course, by ESPN and many other outlets here, 20 plus candidates. There was a name that has stood out as a potential program builder and somebody that could be vastly underrated when it comes to leading a team in Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley. Now, I looked into this a little bit, right? And program builder is a bit of a loaded term. What does that mean, right? Is it doing it across multiple franchises, multiple teams? Is it really just dominating in the opportunities that said person has received? Who knows? I'll leave it up to you guys to determine. But let's dive into some of the background for what would make Jeff Hafley notable, right? Quick. A little bit quicker than the deep dives that we've been doing on some of the head coaches already covered. But 45 years old. We're going to go ahead and give him the program builder icon. This isn't just something that ESPN themselves has stated. I've seen comments from Boston College's athletic director that also mentioned the heavy influence that Hafley had during his tenure there with them. So let's get into the coaching background. This is more of an interesting guy, right? And there's a reason why he would be much lower on the betting odds for the next New York Jets head coach. And that's because he spent a pretty fair amount of time since he first got into coaching back in 2001 as more of an assistant and less of a position coach or actual coordinator, right? So works his way up in 2001 to Worcester Polytech's running back coach. Then he goes to Albany, becomes a defensive assistant and DB coach. He goes to Pittsburgh, becomes a defensive assistant as well, and then their DB coach. And then he goes to Tampa, where he ends up coaching the secondary and the safeties, the DBs with the Cleveland Browns, DBs with the 49ers. And then, of course, he goes to Ohio State, where he becomes a co-defensive coordinator, so finally gets his first taste at hitting the call sheet, and then also has a focus on secondary, which ultimately led to his opportunity with Boston College for 4 years before he ended up parlaying that into his position with the Packers, which he's also doing pretty phenomenal in, if you ask most people in the NFL. Particularly honing in on this Boston College resume, because this is where the crux of this argument comes in, right? What has he done that is so exceptional with Boston College that would make him stand out as a candidate here? Now, 22-26 record, to me, that's not something that screams a guy that I'm dying to get in the building, right? But there was a lot of good that happened within that, and not only did the athletic director, many people that I kind of got a chance to chat with or seen some video footage for, talked about how hard it is really for a lot of these programs that aren't the top tier, Oregon, Alabama type universities that are consistently only having 1, 2, maybe 3 losses on their record season after season. It's hard to even maintain a 500 status record. So nonetheless, I'm a guy that really appreciates a winning culture in whatever essence that looks like. This one doesn't scream that to me, but during his time there, he did lead them to 3 bowl eligible seasons. Finished his last year there with a 7-6 win-loss record. He does have some notable things that stand out to me, and this tends to be a bit of a habit from loosely what I picked up looking at some of the other teams. He led the ACC in fewest penalties and fewest penalty yards, something we would love to be able to see happen in New York, where it's just been a festivity of yellow flags being thrown out on the field all game long. Led the Eagles to a 6-5 mark in his first season as their head coach. That was the most wins by a first-year coach in college football since in 2020, not since. So again, the win-loss record doesn't look outstanding, but in the context of what he was doing out there, it looks pretty good from a resume perspective. Now, lesser known name here. He's been an assistant a ton. Obviously, there's going to be better credential, better experienced DCs ahead of him as well. And I don't know if he would. I don't know how high in this head coach circuit he's going to ultimately end up, even with the success that he's seeing with the Packers, right? But right now, you're talking about a team that's top 10 in points allowed with 20.3 per game, and I do like the combination of players that he's oversaw. Again, former DB, I just love watching cornerback reps, safety reps, so I'm prone to anybody that has secondary experience. He operates a 4-3 scheme, but he has adjusted things in the past where he's been more of a 3-4, or he's adjusted having high safety looks versus two shells, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, between college and the NFL, he's now getting experience seeing how both of that works out when you want to talk about the hash marks and stuff being a little bit different, right? An interesting piece and something that would potentially show the aggressive kind of defense that could be in New York. He led college football in single high safety looks during the 2021 and 2022 seasons for him. And then even then in 2023, he still was, I don't know if he was top 10 or not, but he still had a pretty highly graded amount of coverage looks where he was single high safety. Some players that he did at least oversee, right? Not that you can give credit to him necessarily, but wide receiver Zay Flowers, guard Zion Johnson, I believe center Alex Lindstrom, maybe guard, cornerback Deron Harmon, safety Logan Ryan. He actually got to coach cornerback Darrelle Revis, cornerback Aaron Berry, and then safety Dom DeCicco, something along those lines. I think I'm on the money there, close enough. He's not in my favorites, right? I think we've gone through maybe 8 head coaches so far, something like that. He wouldn't crack my top 5 or top 8 so far. I definitely would still have him firmly behind a lot of these other guys. But this feels like a guy that a couple years down the line, 2-3 years, he continues this trajectory he's on with the Packers and turning that defense around, having them step up. I think he could be a strong name here. But otherwise, let me know what you guys think. Again, I'm not super heavy into college like that if it doesn't pertain to Rutgers. And then, of course, if it isn't draft season, which always starts early for us. But from like a school history perspective and all that kind of stuff, I'm not super tapped in. But I try to do some decent enough research. So if you guys know more and can fill in, please do. If this is somebody that you find yourself being excited about, let me know why. And I'll catch you guys again. Peace.